In this video, we would focus on the part 2 of the research methodology, or part 2 of the chapter 3 section of a proposal or an actual project work. Now, in this video, we will look at three things, or we would focus on three areas: the data collection tools in research, sampling procedures in research, and then validity and reliability of data collection instrument in research. Now, let's begin with the data collection tools in research. Data collection tools in research. Now, what is a data collection tool? You can also call it data collection instrument or data collection tool. Okay, what is a data collection tool? A data collection tool, also called data collection instrument, is any device, form, or a system used by a researcher to gather information from respondents or sources. It is designed to help the researcher obtain answers to the research questions or objectives guiding the study. Now, what is the purpose of a data collection tool? The purpose is to ensure the systematic collection of relevant and accurate data. It also provides a structure for organizing responses for analysis. Lastly, it helps achieve consistency and reliability in the data gathering process. Now, so practically what we are saying is a data collection tool or a data collection instrument is any device. It could be any system or any form used by a researcher to gather information, okay, from the respondents or the sources. It is designed to help the researcher obtain answers, obtain informations to help respond or answer the research questions that were asked in the introductory section. So when we say a data collection tool, we are looking at any device, any form, any system by which the researcher is able to gather information from the respondents or from the sources. Okay, so why do we have to design a data collection tool or a data collection instrument? What is the relevance? The designing of data collection tool is purposely to help the researcher to obtain answers, okay, to the research questions or answers to the objectives, the specific objectives, guiding the study. Now, the purpose is to ensure systematic collection of relevant and accurate data. It provides a structure for organizing responses for the data analysis, and it helps to achieve consistency and reliability in the data gathering process. Now, the structure and alignment of data collection tools. We are now going to look at the next thing. We are going to look at the structure. How are you supposed to structure? Okay, now a typical example of a data collection instrument can be a questionnaire with closed-ended questions. Another example can be an interview guide with open-ended questions. Okay, we can even have a checklist that is usually used in retrospective studies. Okay, now what is the structure and alignment of data collection tools? Now, in terms of the alignment, let's look at the alignment. In terms of the alignment, what it means is that now a good data collection tool must align directly with the study specific objective. A good data collection tool must align directly with the study's specific objectives. Now, each section or question should address a specific objective or a research question. Now, what that means is that in designing a data collection tool or a data collection instrument, now the sections of the instrument should align with your specific objectives. What that means is that if we take a typical data collection instrument, like a questionnaire, the various sections, you see, sometimes we section questionnaire, like section A, section B, section C, section D. Now, the sections of the questionnaire should align with the specific objective. So, for example, if you take a typical quantitative questionnaire, like a questionnaire for quantitative study, usually the first section will be the demographic characteristics of the respondents or the participants. Now, the second section should align with the first specific objectives. The third section should align with your second specific objective. And if you are doing three specific objectives, your last section should align with your third specific objectives. That is what we mean. Okay, and that's what we mean by alignment of a data collection instrument. The data collection instrument or tool, the section should align. Okay, so and that is why we are saying that a good data collection tool must align directly. Okay, must align directly with the study's specific objective. Each section or question should address a specific objective or a research question. Now, typical structure. Most tools are organized in sections based on specific objectives. Now, the first section usually captures the demographic characteristics of the respondents, such as the ages, their sex, the marital status, educational background, professional ranking, etc. Now, the subsequent sections address core study variables or core specific objectives and indicators related to the specific objectives. So, this is a typical structure or a typical way of structuring a data collection instrument. So, you see, we have the section A, the data, demographic data or demographic characteristics of respondents. Section B, the knowledge on the topic. Section C, attitudes or practices. Section D, factors influencing the phenomenon. Is that okay? The phenomena that you are studying. Okay, so that's what we mean by structure and alignment of data collection tool. So the alignment have got to do with the fact that for a data collection instrument or a tool to be very good, it should align with your specific objectives. Usually, for the sections, we usually have a compulsory section we call the section A, which is mostly the demographic or biographic data of the respondents. Then the section B should align with your first specific objective, the theme from your first specific objective. So all the questions under the section B should help us answer the research questions that you asked in the first specific objective. Okay, then we come to the section C. All the section C, the theme of that section C should be the theme from that specific objective, the second specific objective. Is that okay? Good. Then the section D should align with the third specific objective. The reason why we are having section D, assuming you are doing a typical study where you have 3 specific objectives. In the sections in your data collection instrument, it will be 4. The fourth one, the first one is usually compulsory. It's not from your specific objective. The demographic characteristics of the respondents, that will not come from your specific objectives. But the subsequent headings, the section B, section C, section D, all of them should align. That means if you have 4 specific objectives, you will even have section E. You get so section A for the demographics, section B for the first specific objective, section C for the third specific objective, section D for the second specific objective, section D for the third specific objective, section E for the fourth specific objectives. Okay, so we session specific objectives based on or in accordance with we session data collection instrument in accordance with your specific objectives. Okay, so most tools or most data collection instruments are organized in sections based on their specific objectives. The first section is usually captures the demographic characteristics of the respondents, such as the age, the sex, the marital status, the educational background, the professional background. Then the subsequent sections addresses core, study objectives. For example, in a typical data collection instrument, you can have section A, which is usually the demographic characteristics, the section B, the knowledge on the topic in question, the section C, the attitude or practices regarding the phenomena, then the section D, factors influencing the phenomena. This is a typical example. Okay, now again, designing data collection tool for quantitative study. We are now going to look at how to design data collection tools for quantitative study. Now, in quantitative research, the most common data collection tool is the questionnaire. Okay, so if you are doing a quantitative study, you should know that you would have a questionnaire. That's the most common data collection tool. It's a questionnaire used to collect measurable data from a large number of respondents. Now, there are several types of questionnaires. We have the structured questionnaire, which contains predetermined close-ended questions designed for quick, objective, and statistical analysis. We have the semi-structured questionnaire, which usually combine both close-ended and few open-ended questions to allow limited elaboration. Then we have unstructured questionnaire. Unstructured questionnaire usually consists mainly of open-ended questions and are rarely used in purely quantitative studies. Okay, so in quantitative research, the commonly used data collection tool is a questionnaire. Okay, so we usually use questionnaire in quantitative studies to measure data from a large number of respondents. And there are several types. Commonly, we have three types of questionnaire. We have the structured questionnaire, the semi-structured questionnaire, and then unstructured questionnaire. The structured questionnaire contain predetermined, close-ended questions designed for quick, objective, and statistical analysis. We have the semi-structured questionnaires. Usually, these semi-structured questionnaires usually combine both close-ended and few open-ended questions to allow limited elaborations. Okay, great. That is a semi-structured question. Then we have unstructured questionnaire, but mostly this questionnaire consists mainly of open-ended questions. Okay, and are rarely used in pure quantitative study, because in pure quantitative study, usually we use structured questionnaires and semi-structured questionnaires, mostly in pure quantitative studies. But sometimes, some studies can be mixed method where you are using both. In such studies, sometimes they can consider semi-structured or the unstructured questionnaires. Now, structured questionnaire. What is a structured questionnaire? These are the most commonly used tools in quantitative research. They consist of closed-ended questions that are pre-coded to allow for easy entry and analysis using statistical softwares like SPSS, Data, Excel. Now, structured questionnaires ensures uniformity of responses and minimizes researcher bias. Okay. Now, again, questions format. Let's look at the questions format in a typical structured questionnaire. Now, the questions in a quantitative questionnaire may take different forms, such as we can have the Likert scale questions, questions where the responses or the options available are more like strongly agree to strongly disagree. So strongly agree, disagree, strongly disagree. Is that okay? Now, to measure attitudes, if you want to measure things like attitudes in a quantitative structured questionnaire, you can use Likert scale formats. Is that okay? So usually, if you are measuring things like attitude, it's actually preferred that you use the Likert scale questions. Okay, then we can have the multiple choice questions. Multiple choice questions with fixed options like yes or no, or agree or disagree. Is that okay? So those are more like multiple choice questions. Usually the multiple choice questions, you have an option to choose only one. Okay, you have you have the chance to choose only one option. Those kind style of questions, we call them multiple choice questions. You can have those style of questions in a structured questionnaire. Okay, then we have what we call the numeric response format that requires respondents to provide numerical data like the age. Okay, yes. So, for example, you are collecting information on the ages of participants or respondents. For example, the age, the years of experience. Those ones are numeric response format style questions. Numeric response questions. Is that okay? So, questions that require respondents to answer by putting in some numbers. Okay, for example, if you ask respondents to put in their age, is that okay? They are numeric response format questions. Then we have the ranking or rating skills where respondents prioritize options based on importance or preferences. Those style of questions too are there. Now, design considerations. In designing quantitative questionnaire, ensure clarity, brevity, and neutrality in wording of each question. Now, avoid leading ambiguous or double-barreled questions. you also have to arrange questions logically, beginning with demographic informations. Okay, so you don't design a questionnaire, then the demographic information, the questions there are the last. You start there. It should be arranged logically. In fact, apart from the demographic informations that starts first, now the remaining themes or sections should align with how you've arranged the specific objective. Okay, so if the specific objective, the knowledge comes first. In terms of your arrangement of the sections of the questionnaire, knowledge should be next after the demographic characteristics. That is what we mean. So you should arrange the questions or the sections of the questionnaire logically, beginning with the demographic information, followed by sections that align with the specific objectives of the study. Now, conduct a pilot test to assess the validity, reliability, and flow of the question before full-scale data collection. Now, designing data collection tool for retrospective and prospective studies. How do you design data collection tools for retrospective and prospective study? Now, let's begin with retrospective studies. In retrospective studies, researchers collect data from existing records, documents, or databases such as hospital records, registers, or patient case notes. Now, the data collection tool is often a data extraction form or a checklist designed to systematically retrieve relevant information from secondary sources. Now, the form is structured around the specific objective or variables of the study. Example, patient demographics, diagnosis, and treatment outcomes. Now, items on the data extraction form are usually coded to allow for consistency and easier data entry and analysis. Researchers ensure that only available and verifiable data are collected to maintain validity and reliability. For example, a data extraction form was developed to collect information on patient age, diagnosis, treatment type, and outcomes from hospital records between 2018 and 2023. So what we mean is that we have a way that you design, data collection tools for retrospective and prospective study. Now, for retrospective study, okay, the researchers collect data from existing records because you see, you are looking back in time. Okay, so you collect your data from existing records, or what we call secondary data, documents or databases such as hospital records, registers, or patient case notes. Now, the data collection tool is often a data extraction form or a checklist. So if we ask you anywhere what data collection tool or instrument is used in retrospective study, it's a data extraction form or a checklist. Commonly, we call it a checklist. Okay, so if you are going to do a retrospective study, a study where you are going to use an already existing data, you cannot tell us that you are going to use a questionnaire. Is that okay? We don't use a questionnaire. We use a data extraction form, or what we call a checklist. And a checklist is usually designed to systematically retrieve the relevant information from the secondary sources. The form is usually structured the same way we structure. The checklist is also structured the same way we structure the quantitative questionnaire, like the structured questionnaire or semi-structured questionnaire, the same format. Is that okay? Great. Now, items on the data extraction form are usually coded to allow for consistency and easier data entry and analysis. Now, researchers ensure that only available and verifiable data are collected to maintain validity and reliability. Now, example, a data extraction form was developed to collect information on patients' age, diagnosis, treatment type, and outcomes from hospital records between 2018 and 2023. 2018 and 2023. All right. Now, prospective studies. Now, for prospective studies, okay, what happens is that in prospective studies, the data are collected directly from participants as events unfold or during the study period. Now, the data collection tool may include questionnaires, interview guides, observation checklist, depending on the research design, whether quantitative or qualitative. Now, the instrument is developed in alignment with the specific objectives and is usually pre-tested or piloted before the data collection begins. Now, for the section of the tools, it often includes the section A, which is typically usually the demographic characteristics or demographic information. Now, the section B to D, main variables based on the study objectives. Now, ethical considerations such as informed consent and confidentiality are strictly observed during the data collection. Okay, so for example, a structured questionnaire was designed to collect data from pregnant women attending antenatal clinics to assess their knowledge, attitude, and practices regarding nutrition. Okay, now the last thing we will talk about under the data collection tool is about using standardized and validated tools in questionnaire design. Using standardized and validated tools in questionnaire design. Using standardized and validated tools in questionnaire design. Now, in quantitative research, the researchers sometimes use standardized or validated instruments when designing their data collection tools. Okay, now a standardized tool is a questionnaire or a scale that has been previously developed, tested, and validated for reliability and accuracy in measuring a specific concept or phenomenon. Okay, now how do we apply that? How is that applied in research? Now, researchers may adopt or adapt an existing validated tool to suit the context of their own study. For instance, when studying stress levels, a researcher may use an established tool such as perceived stress scale. Okay, now if the standardized tool contains items that are not directly relevant, the researcher can select or modify only the items that align with the study's objective or the population. Now, this process ensures that the data collection instrument remains scientifically grounded while being contextually appropriate. Now, relevance and importance. Now, using standardized and validated tools enhances reliability and then validity of the study by using proven measures. It promotes comparability of findings with other similar studies. It saves time and resources since the instrument has been pre-tested and validated. It also increases the credibility and acceptance of the research results among scholars and practitioners. Now, example, a researcher assessing nurses' stress levels adopted selected items from the perceived stress scale, to suit the hospital work environment whilst maintaining the validity of the original instrument. Okay, so what this means is that there are times that you can use standardized and validated tools that are already validated, are already standardized. Okay, and they have certain elements. And sometimes you can adapt some of these standardized and validated tools depending on your specific objective. So always you should find out whether the specific objective you are looking at, there are standardized tools, the variable that you are measuring, there are standardized tools that can help you accurately or correctly, measure or get answers to those variables. Okay, now in such situations, then you may have to adapt those standardized or validated tools. Okay, so like I said earlier, in quantitative research, researchers sometimes use standardized or validated instruments when designing their data collection, tools. Now, a standardized tool is a questionnaire or a scale that has been previously developed, tested, and validated for reliability and accuracy in measuring a specific concept or phenomenon. Now, application in research. Now, researchers may adopt or adapt an existing validated tool to suit the context of their own study. For instance, when studying stress level, a researcher may use an established tool such as the perceived stress scale, the PSS. Okay, if the standardized tool contains items that are not directly relevant, the researcher can select or modify only the items that align with the study's objectives or population. Now, this process ensures that the data collection instrument remains scientifically grounded while being contextually appropriate. Relevance and importance of using the standardized and validated tools. Now, it enhances validity and reliability of the study by using proven measures. It promotes comparability of findings with other similar studies. It saves time and resources since the instrument has been pre-tested and validated. It increases credibility and acceptance of research results among scholars and practitioners. Now, a researcher assessing stress levels adopted selected items from perceived stress scale to suit the hospital work environment whilst maintaining the validity. Okay, so what this means is that always check your specific objectives. Okay, after looking through your specific objective, try and understand what variable you are measuring within the specific objectives. Then you ask yourself questions that, okay, this very specific objective, is there any standardized tool or commonly used validated tool or standardized tool that can better help you, ask relevant questions to address that variable in question? For example, you are measuring stress. Maybe one of your objectives is to measure stress among nurses. There are standardized tools. So every specific objective that you are looking at, try and make that attempt to find out whether there are standardized tools. If there are standardized tools, you have to adopt those standardized tools. There are times that the element in the standardized tools, not all of them may be relevant to your study and what you want to answer. Okay, now in such a situation, just pick the element in those standardized tools that you think will be relevant to you and use them to formulate questions under that specific objective. That is what we are trying to say. Is that okay? Okay, so you always have to check your specific objectives and then know whether there are any standardized or validated tools that you can use. Okay, now let's look at sample description of data collection tool in research methodology. Okay, we are looking at how you can describe data collection tool. This is how you are expected to describe data collection tool. We will look at that for a questionnaire, and we'll look at another one for we will look at one for questionnaire, that is for quantitative study, and we'll look at another sample for a qualitative study. Now, the data collection tool. So this is how we write it. Now, the primary data collection tool for this study was a structured questionnaire. A questionnaire is a research instrument that consists of series of written or printed questions designed to obtain information from respondents about their experiences, attitude, knowledge, or opinions on a particular topic. Now, the questionnaire was developed based on the study's objective and relevant literature to ensure content validity. Now, it was structured in 4 main sections according to the specific objective of the study. Section A covered the demographic characteristics of the respondents, such as age, gender, marital status, level of education, years of experience. Section B focused on respondents' knowledge related to research topic. Section C captured attitude or perception of the respondent towards the phenomena under study. Section D assessed the practices, behaviors, or factors influencing the issue being investigated. Now, the structure of the questionnaire was designed to align directly with the study's specific objectives, thereby ensuring the data collected addressed each objective comprehensively and systematically. Okay, now let's look at that of the interview guide. Now, so this is how you write the data collection tool section. For example, that's if you are doing a qualitative study. The primary data collection tool for this study was an interview guide. You see how I started? The primary data collection tool for this study was an interview guide. An interview guide is a qualitative research instrument consisting of a set of open-ended questions designed to explore participant experiences, perception and attitude and opinions in depth regarding a particular phenomenon. The interview guide was developed in line with the study specific objectives and supported by existing literature to ensure relevance and content validity. It was organized into 4 main sections corresponding with the specific objectives of the study. Section A covered the demographic characteristics of the participants, such as age, gender, marital status, educational background, and years of professional experience. Section B focused on participants' knowledge or understanding of the research topic. Section C explored attitude, beliefs, and perception towards the issue and the investigation. Section D examined participants' experiences, behaviors, and contributing factors relating to the phenomena. The structure of the interview guide was designed to ensure that Each section elicited rich, detailed, qualitative data aligned with the study objectives, thereby providing a comprehensive understanding of the research problem. Okay, good. So this is how you write the description of the data collection tool. So you start. So if it's a quantitative study, you start by saying the primary data collection tool for this study was a structured questionnaire. A questionnaire is a research instrument that consists of, so you see now we are giving the definition of, a questionnaire. So a questionnaire is a research instrument that consists of a series of written or printed questions designed to obtain information from respondents about their experiences, attitude, knowledge, or opinions on a particular subject. Now, the questionnaire was developed based on the study's objective and relevant literature to ensure content validity. It was structured into 4 main sections according to the specific objectives of the study. Now, section A covered the demographic characteristics of the respondents, such as the age, gender, marital status, level of education, and years of experience. Section B focused on the respondents' knowledge related to research topic. Section C captured the attitude or perception of the respondents towards the phenomena under study. Section D assessed the practices, behaviors, or factors influencing the issue being investigated. The structure of the questionnaire was designed to align directly with the study's specific objectives, thereby ensuring that data collected addressed each objective comprehensively and systematically. Now, for those who will be writing on, qualitative studies or exploratory research design, you use interview guide. So this is how you write the description of the data collection tool. The primary data collection tool for this study was, so if it's a proposal will be an interview guide. The primary data collection tool for this study will be an interview guide. Okay, good. Then now you define what an interview guide is. An interview guide is a qualitative research instrument consisting of a set of open-ended questions designed to explore participants' experiences, perception, attitudes, and opinions, or designed to understand participants' experiences, perception, and attitudes regarding a particular phenomenon. Now, the interview guide was developed in line with the study's specific objectives and supported by existing literature to ensure relevance and content validity. It was organized into 4 main sections corresponding with the specific objectives of the study. Section A covered the demographic characteristics of the participants, such as age, gender, marital status, educational background, and years of professional experience. Section B focused on participants' knowledge or understanding of the research topic. Section C explored the attitudes. Okay, so you see, you have to now tell us the sections. Now, what I always say is that before you write the description of your data collection tool in the chapter 3, you should have designed your questionnaire already. That's the advice I'll give you. Before you write the description of the data collection tool in chapter 3, you should have designed your questionnaire there already, so that you know what you are going to write under the description of the data collection tool, what you have within each section. Okay, so by the time you even start writing your chapter 3, in fact, ideally, you've designed your questionnaire already before you get to the chapter 3. Okay, before you get to the description of the data collection tool. Because can you imagine writing a description of a data collection tool you've not designed already? So it's like you are forging the description. But then the questionnaire should be there, and you are looking at the questionnaire and describing what is in the questionnaire. That is all that we do in the data collection tool. You are designing how your questionnaire looks like and what instrument you even used. Okay, that is the advice I will give you. So before you even get to the chapter 3, the methodology section, the data collection tool section, you have already designed your questionnaire before you get here. Okay, so that the description, if you do that, the description is going to be very simple and easy. Is that okay? All right. That is fine. So this brings us to the end of, this aspect of the research methodology. Okay, so in this video, the focus was on the data collection tool or the data collection instrument. Okay, in our next video, we will look at the data collection procedure. Okay, I wish you all the best. Okay, catch you in the next video. Bye-bye.